The great hall of Zephyr Prime buzzed with whispers as hundreds of alien nobles filled the crystal chamber. Their blue-tinted skin gleamed under the soft light of the energy crystals that powered their magnificent palace. Princess Kira stood at the center of the hall, her 4 eyes calm and steady. Beside her stood a figure that made every creature in the room stare in shock. He was human. Tom wore simple clothes compared to the flowing robes of the Zephyrians around him. His brown hair was neat, his hands clean but marked with the small scars that came from years of working with machines. He looked nervous but determined as he faced the most powerful beings on the planet. Queen Vex rose from her throne, her tall frame towering over everyone in the hall. Her silver crown caught the light as she moved, and her face showed pure anger. The whispers stopped immediately. Even the smallest sound would be heard in the deadly silence that followed. "Who is this human?" the queen demanded. Her voice echoed off the crystal walls like thunder. Princess Kira lifted her chin. She had known this moment would come. She had prepared for it. But now, facing her mother's rage, she felt her heart's beating fast inside her chest. "He is my spouse," she answered calmly. The hall exploded into chaos. Nobles jumped to their feet. Some shouted in shock. Others gasped and covered their mouths with their hands. The sound was so loud that the crystal walls began to vibrate. "Silence!" Queen Vex roared. The hall fell quiet again, but the tension remained thick in the air. Tom could feel hundreds of eyes staring at him. Some looked curious. Others looked angry. A few looked disgusted. He kept his face calm, just as Kira had taught him. "This is impossible," Queen Vex said, her voice cold as ice. "You cannot bond with a primitive species. Our laws forbid it." "Our laws say nothing about humans," Princess Kira replied. "They speak of bonding with equals. Tom has proven himself to be my equal and more." "Equals?" The queen laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "This creature cannot even survive on our world without help. How can he be your equal?" Tom felt the words hit him like physical blows. He wanted to speak, to defend himself. But Kira had warned him about this moment. She had told him to stay quiet unless asked a direct question. The Zephyrians had their own ways, their own customs. He would respect them. "Mother," Princess Kira said, her voice still calm. "You do not know what Tom has done for our people. Let me tell you the story." Queen Vex sat back on her throne. Her 4 eyes never left Tom's face. "Speak then. But know that no story will change my mind. This union is forbidden." Princess Kira took a deep breath. Around them, the nobles settled back into their seats. Even they wanted to hear this tale. 6 months ago, Princess Kira began, the humans came to our world as part of the peace talks. They sent a small group of diplomats and experts. Tom was among them, sent as an engineer to study our technology. Tom remembered that day clearly. He had been amazed by everything he saw on Zephyr Prime. The floating cities, the crystal technology, the way the Zephyrians could control energy with their thoughts. It was like stepping into a dream. At first, Princess Kira continued, we paid little attention to the humans. Their technology seemed so simple compared to ours. Their ships were metal and fire where ours were crystal and light. Their computers used electricity where ours used pure energy. The nobles nodded. They remembered. Many of them had laughed at the human delegation when they first arrived. But then, Princess Kira's voice grew serious, the great crisis began. Tom felt his stomach tighten as he remembered those terrible days. It had started with small power failures across the planet. Lights flickering. Transportation systems stopping. At first, the Zephyrian engineers thought it was just routine maintenance issues. The planetary energy grid began to fail, Princess Kira said. Our greatest minds worked day and night to find the problem. Our most advanced computers ran countless simulations. But nothing worked. The failures spread faster each day. Queen Vex shifted on her throne. Even she remembered the fear of those dark days. Within a week, Princess Kira continued, entire cities were losing power. Our hospitals could not function. Our food system shut down. Our defenses went dark. We were facing the collapse of our entire civilization. Tom remembered the panic in the streets. The Zephyrians were a proud people, masters of energy technology. To see their perfect systems failing was like watching their whole world fall apart. I led the emergency response team, Princess Kira said. We worked without sleep, trying everything we could think of. But our automated systems could not find the source of the problem. Our energy scanners saw nothing wrong. Our repair systems fixed what they could find, but the failures kept spreading. She paused and looked at Tom with something close to wonder in her 4 eyes. Then Tom asked to help. A few nobles laughed. The idea of a primitive human helping with advanced Zephyrian technology seemed silly to them. I almost said no, Princess Kira admitted. What could a human engineer know about our systems? His people still used metal wires and crude electricity. But we were desperate. I agreed to let him look at our schematics. Tom remembered that moment. Princess Kira had been exhausted, her blue skin pale from stress. She had shown him holographic displays of the planetary grid that were so complex they made his head spin. But as he studied them, he began to see something the Zephyrians had missed. Tom studied our systems for 3 hours, Princess Kira said. Then he asked a simple question: when was the last time someone physically inspected the primary grid connections? The hall was completely silent now. Even Queen Vex was listening intently. We told him that physical inspections were not needed. Our systems monitored themselves. Our scanners could detect any problem from a distance. But Tom insisted that sometimes, the old ways were best. Princess Kira smiled as she remembered what happened next. Tom asked to go down into the deep tunnels where the primary grid connections were housed. No one had been there in over 50 years. Our automated systems handled everything. But Tom said that sometimes, you needed to see a problem with your own eyes. Tom remembered that descent into the depths of the planet. The tunnels were old, built by the first Zephyrian colonists centuries ago. The air was thick and hot. The walls were lined with energy conduits that hummed with power. I went with him, Princess Kira said. Along with 2 of my best engineers. We thought we would quickly prove that our scanners were correct, that there was nothing wrong with the physical connections. She paused, and her voice grew quiet. We were wrong. Tom had seen it first. The main connection node, a massive crystal structure the size of a building, had a tiny crack in its base. The crack was so small that the automated scanners could not detect it. But it was there, and it was growing. Tom found the source of our crisis, Princess Kira said. A microfracture in the central node that was spreading through the crystal matrix. Our scanners missed it because it was so small. But small problems can become big problems very quickly. Queen Vex leaned forward on her throne. She was beginning to understand. But finding the problem was only the beginning, Princess Kira continued. To fix it, someone would have to go inside the node itself. They would have to crawl through spaces barely large enough for a single person. They would have to work while surrounded by enough energy to power our entire planet. The nobles began to murmur among themselves. They knew how dangerous such work would be. Our repair robots were too large to fit inside the node, Princess Kira said. Our automated systems could not work in such a confined space. We needed someone with small hands and the ability to think quickly in a crisis. She looked at Tom again, and this time there was clear admiration in her eyes. Tom volunteered. The murmurs grew louder. A few nobles actually gasped. He spent 3 days inside that energy node, Princess Kira said. Working in temperatures that would have killed most beings. Surrounded by power that could have destroyed him in an instant if he made one wrong move. Using nothing but basic tools and his own hands to repair connections that our most advanced systems could not touch. Tom remembered those 3 days as both the most terrifying and most satisfying of his life. The inside of the node was like being inside a living thing made of pure energy. Every surface glowed. The air itself seemed to buzz with power. He had to move carefully, thinking through every action before he took it. But Tom did more than just fix our grid, Princess Kira said. He improved it. Now even Queen Vex looked surprised. While he worked, Tom noticed that our energy distribution was inefficient. Our systems were so complex that they wasted enormous amounts of power. He suggested changes, simple modifications that our own engineers had never considered. Princess Kira gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the air above them. It showed the planetary energy grid before and after Tom's modifications. Tom's improvements increased our energy efficiency by 30%, she said. Not only did he save our civilization, he made it stronger. The display faded, and Princess Kira turned to face her mother directly. During those 3 days, I learned who Tom really was. Not a primitive human, but a being who could see solutions where we saw only problems. Someone who was willing to risk his life for people he barely knew. Someone who approached challenges with creativity and courage instead of just technology and power. Tom felt his cheeks grow warm. He had never heard Kira describe their time together in such detail. When Tom emerged from the energy node, Princess Kira continued, our entire world celebrated. He was a hero. But to me, he was something more. He was someone I could respect. Someone I could learn from. Someone I could love. The word love echoed through the hall like a bell. Many Zephyrians considered love to be a primitive emotion. They chose their mates through careful analysis of genetic compatibility and social status. But Princess Kira had chosen differently. In the weeks that followed, she said, Tom and I worked together on many projects. I learned about human ingenuity, their ability to find simple solutions to complex problems. Tom learned about our science, our culture, our ways of thinking. We discovered that different approaches could create better results than either of us could achieve alone. Princess Kira walked closer to her mother's throne. Her voice grew stronger. Tom taught me that perfection is not the goal. Growth is the goal. Learning is the goal. Becoming better than you were yesterday is the goal. These are human ideas, but they are good ideas. Queen Vex remained silent, but Tom could see her 4 eyes moving between him and her daughter. When Tom asked me to bond with him, Princess Kira said, I did not hesitate. He is my intellectual equal. He is my partner in all things. He challenges me to think differently and supports me when I face difficulties. Is this not what a spouse should be? The hall was absolutely silent. Tom could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Finally, Queen Vex spoke. You speak of this human as though he were one of us, she said coldly. But he is not. His people live short lives. They are weak and fragile. They know nothing of our history or our traditions. How can such a being be worthy of a princess of Zephyr Prime? Princess Kira had expected this question. She had prepared for it. Tom may live a shorter life than us, she said. But he has already accomplished more in his 30 years than many of our people accomplish in 300. He may be physically weaker, but his mind is strong. He may not know our history, but he is helping us write our future. She paused and looked around the hall at all the assembled nobles. And as for our traditions, she said, was it not our tradition to explore and learn from other worlds? Was it not our tradition to welcome new ideas and new ways of thinking? When did we become so close to change? A few nobles shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Princess Kira's words struck home. But Queen Vex was not convinced. Pretty words, the Queen said. But words are easy. This union threatens everything we have built. What will happen to our bloodlines? What will happen to our genetic purity? What will happen to our standing among the other worlds? The queen stood up from her throne and walked down the steps toward Tom and Princess Kira. You have been foolish, my daughter, she said. Blinded by your emotions. This human may have helped us once, but that does not make him worthy of you. I forbid this union. The human will leave our world immediately. Princess Kira felt her heart sink. She had hoped that telling Tom's story would change her mother's mind. But Queen Vex was as stubborn as she was proud. Mother, Princess Kira began, but the queen held up her hand. The decision is made, Queen Vex said firmly. Guards, escort the human to his ship. 2 large Zephyrian guards stepped forward. They moved toward Tom with purpose. But Princess Kira stepped between them and her bonded mate. No, she said simply. The guards stopped, confused. They looked back at Queen Vex for guidance. You will obey me, the queen commanded her daughter. I am your queen. You are my queen, Princess Kira agreed. But you are not his. She gestured toward Tom. Tom is not a citizen of Zephyr Prime. He is not subject to your laws. He came here as part of a diplomatic mission from Earth. If you force him to leave without just cause, you will be breaking the peace treaty our people signed. Queen Vex's 4 eyes widened. She had not considered this complication. Furthermore, Princess Kira continued, Tom and I were bonded according to human customs, which are recognized as valid under interplanetary law. You cannot simply declare our union invalid without proper legal proceedings. The queen's face showed her anger, but also her frustration. Princess Kira was right. The law was complex when it came to relationships between species. Then we will have legal proceedings, Queen Vex declared. I invoke the ancient trial of worth. Let this human prove his value to our people, or let him be exiled forever. A gasp went through the hall. The trial of worth was an old tradition, rarely used. It was designed to test whether someone was truly worthy of joining the royal family. Princess Kira felt a chill run through her body. The trial of worth was notoriously difficult. It had 3 parts, each designed to test a different aspect of worthiness. Many Zephyrians had failed it over the centuries. But Tom stepped forward. I accept, he said quietly. These were the first words he had spoken since entering the hall. His voice was calm and clear. Queen Vex stared at him with surprise. She had not expected the human to speak for himself. You do not know what you are accepting, she warned him. The trial of worth has 3 challenges. Each is more difficult than the last. If you fail any part of it, you will be exiled from Zephyr Prime forever. You will never see Princess Kira again. Tom looked at Princess Kira. She tried to hide her fear, but he could see it in her 4 eyes. He reached out and gently touched her hand. I understand, he said to the queen. When do we begin? Queen Vex smiled, but it was not a kind smile. We begin tomorrow, she said. Rest well, human. It may be your last peaceful night on this world. The queen turned and walked back to her throne. The assembled nobles began to file out of the hall, whispering excitedly among themselves. They would have quite a story to tell. Princess Kira and Tom stood alone in the great crystal chamber. The energy crystals dimmed as the crowd departed, leaving them in soft, colored light. I am sorry, Princess Kira whispered. I hoped she would understand. Tom put his arm around her shoulders. Despite everything, he felt oddly calm. It will be okay, he said. We knew this would not be easy. The trial of worth is very difficult, Princess Kira said. I do not know what the challenges will be, but they are designed to be nearly impossible. Tom nodded. He had expected as much. Then I will do the nearly impossible, he said simply. I did not come this far to give up now. Princess Kira looked at him with wonder. Even facing exile from everything he had come to love, Tom remained steady and determined. This was why she had chosen him. This was why she would always choose him. Tomorrow would bring the greatest challenge of Tom's life. But tonight, they were still together. Tonight, they could still hope. And sometimes, hope was enough to work miracles. Dawn came early to Zephyr Prime. The twin suns cast long shadows across the Crystal Palace as Tom stood on the balcony of his guest quarters. He had barely slept, but his mind felt clear and focused. Today would determine his entire future. Princess Kira knocked softly on his door. When he opened it, she looked as tired as he felt. Her 4 eyes were rimmed with exhaustion, and her usually perfect blue skin looked pale. "I have been researching the trial of Worth all night," she said as she entered his room. "I wanted to find some way to help you prepare." Tom took her hands in his. They were cold with worry. "What did you learn?" he asked gently. "The trial has 3 parts," Princess Kira explained. "The first tests intelligence and problem-solving. The second tests leadership and decision-making under pressure. The third tests cultural understanding and contribution to our society." Tom nodded thoughtfully. "Those seem reasonable." "Tom, you do not understand," Princess Kira said urgently. "These tests are designed for Zephyrians. The intelligence test uses quantum mathematics that our greatest scholars need days to solve. The leadership test involves managing crises that would challenge our most experienced commanders. The cultural test requires deep knowledge of our history and traditions that you cannot possibly have." Tom was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Maybe that is exactly why I can pass them," he said. Before Princess Kira could ask what he meant, a chime sounded throughout the palace. The trial was about to begin. They walked together to the Hall of Testing, a smaller chamber adjacent to the Great Hall. Queen Vex was already there, along with a panel of 5 judges, the chief scientist, the military commander, the cultural keeper, the high priest, and the people's representative. Each would oversee one aspect of the trial. Tom took his place at the center of the chamber. Princess Kira was required to sit with the observers, but she gave him an encouraging nod before taking her seat. "Human," Queen Vex announced formally, "you have accepted the trial of Worth. You may withdraw your acceptance now without penalty. But once the first test begins, you must complete all 3 challenges or face immediate exile." Tom stood straight and looked directly at the Queen. "I am ready to proceed, Your Majesty." Queen Vex gestured to the chief scientist, a tall Zephyrian with silver hair and 6 arms. "Begin the first test." The chief scientist activated a holographic display that filled the air above Tom's head. Complex equations and symbols swirled in 3-dimensional space. The mathematics were so advanced that just looking at them made Tom's eyes water. "This is the quantum harmony equation," the chief scientist explained. "It governs the relationship between energy, matter, and consciousness in our universe. Solve it completely, and the first test is passed." Tom studied the equation for several minutes. The symbols were unlike anything he had ever seen. Some seemed to move and change as he watched them. Others pulsed with different colors. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The judges waited. According to their records, the fastest any Zephyrian had ever solved this equation was 4 days. Most took a full week. Some never solved it at all. But Tom was not thinking like a Zephyrian. Instead of trying to calculate each part of the equation separately, Tom stepped back and looked at the whole pattern. He had learned something important during his years as an engineer: sometimes the most complex problems had surprisingly simple solutions. The equation reminded him of something. A river flowing around rocks. Water always found the easiest path, not the most mathematically perfect one. Tom walked around the holographic display, viewing it from different angles. The judges watched with curiosity. This was not how Zephyrians approached mathematics. Suddenly, Tom saw it. Hidden within all the complex calculations was a simple pattern. The equation was not asking for a mathematical solution at all. It was asking for an understanding of balance. The answer is 0, Tom said quietly. The chief scientist blinked all 4 of his eyes. Explain. The equation represents perfect harmony, Tom said. In perfect harmony, all forces balance each other exactly. The sum total is 0, but 0 does not mean nothing. It means everything is in its proper place. Tom pointed to different parts of the equation. These sections represent energy, matter, and consciousness. When they are perfectly balanced, they support each other instead of fighting each other. The mathematical result is 0, but the practical result is infinite possibility. The chief scientist stared at the display. He ran a quick calculation on his personal computer. His 6 arms moved frantically across the holographic interface. Then he stopped. His face showed complete amazement. The human is correct, he announced. A murmur of surprise ran through the room. Tom had solved in 30 minutes what usually took days. Queen Vex's expression remained stern, but Tom noticed that one of her 4 eyes was looking at him with something that might have been respect. The first test is completed, she announced. Proceed to the second test. The military commander stepped forward. She was a fierce-looking Zephyrian with scars across her blue skin and muscles that bulged beneath her uniform. The second test measures leadership under pressure, she announced. You will be placed in a holographic simulation of a crisis scenario. You must make decisions quickly and effectively to save lives and protect our civilization. The room around Tom disappeared. He found himself standing in what appeared to be the command center of a Zephyrian space station. Alarms were blaring. Red lights flashed everywhere. Through the viewports, he could see 3 massive asteroids heading directly toward a populated planet. Holographic officers rushed up to him with reports. All of them looked panicked. Commander, one officer shouted. The asteroids will impact the planet in 1 hour. Our defensive systems are down for maintenance. We have evacuation ships, but they can only save half the population. Another officer grabbed Tom's arm. The planetary shield generator is offline. If we can repair it, we can deflect the asteroids. But the repair teams need 40 minutes to reach the generator. A third officer pointed to a display showing massive energy readings. We could destroy the asteroids with our main weapon. But it requires all power to be diverted from life support. The space station crew will have only 20 minutes of air. Tom felt the weight of impossible decisions crushing down on him. Millions of lives hung in the balance. Whatever choice he made, people would die. But then he remembered something Princess Kira had told him about human nature. Humans were good at doing more than one thing at the same time. Status report, Tom said calmly. How many evacuation ships do we have? 50 ships, the first officer replied. Each can carry 10,000 people. The planet has 1 million inhabitants. How many repair teams do we have available? Tom asked. 6 teams, the second officer answered. But they need 40 minutes to reach the generator. What is the power requirement for the main weapon? Tom asked. Full power for 30 seconds, the third officer said. But that leaves the station without life support. Tom studied the displays around him. Then he began giving orders. Send 20 evacuation ships to the planet immediately, he commanded. Have them evacuate the children and elderly first. Priority areas are hospitals and schools. But that only saves 200,000 people, the first officer protested. I am not finished, Tom said calmly. Send 3 repair teams to the shield generator. Have the other 3 teams work on restoring partial power to our defensive systems. That will not be enough, the second officer argued. Send the remaining 30 evacuation ships to the asteroid field, Tom continued. Have them use their tractor beams to alter the asteroid's trajectory by just 2 degrees. The officers looked confused. 2 degrees will not prevent impact, the third officer said. 2 degrees will delay impact by 15 minutes, Tom explained. That gives the repair teams time to restore partial shields. The partial shields cannot stop the asteroids, but they can break them into smaller pieces. Tom pointed to the weapon display. When the asteroids break apart, we use the main weapon to destroy the largest fragments. The smaller pieces will burn up in the planet's atmosphere. But what about the station's life support? The first officer asked. We vent atmosphere from non-essential sections into emergency tanks, Tom said. That gives us an extra 10 minutes of air. Combined with the 15-minute delay from the trajectory change, we have enough time to fire the weapon and restore life support. The officers stared at him. The plan was incredibly complex, requiring perfect timing and coordination. It might work, the military commander said slowly. But if any part of the plan fails, everyone dies. If we do nothing, everyone dies anyway, Tom replied. At least this way, we have a chance. The simulation played out exactly as Tom had planned. The evacuation ships saved the most vulnerable population and delayed the asteroids. The repair teams restored partial shields just in time to break the asteroids apart. The main weapon destroyed the largest fragments. The smaller pieces burned harmlessly in the atmosphere. Total casualties, 0. The simulation ended, and Tom found himself back in the hall of testing. The military commander was staring at him with undisguised amazement. In 300 years of testing, she said, no one has ever achieved 0 casualties in that scenario. Most candidates accept that some people must die and focus on minimizing losses. You found a way to save everyone. Humans do not accept that some people must die, Tom said simply. We keep looking for solutions until we find one that saves everyone. Queen Vex was no longer trying to hide her surprise. The human had passed 2 tests that challenged the greatest minds of her people. The third test, she announced, turning to the cultural keeper. The cultural keeper was an ancient Zephyrian, so old that his blue skin had faded to almost white. He moved slowly but with great dignity. The final test measures your understanding of our culture and your potential contribution to our society, he said in a voice like distant thunder. Tell us, human, what can your people offer to ours? What wisdom do you bring that we do not already possess? This was the test Princess Kira had feared most. How could Tom, who had been on Zephyr Prime for only 6 months, understand their culture well enough to contribute to it? But Tom had thought about this question for weeks. Honored Keeper, he began respectfully, I have studied your history during my time here. Your people achieved greatness through exploration, discovery, and the willingness to learn from others. You traveled to distant worlds, embraced new ideas, and grew stronger through change. The cultural keeper nodded slowly. This was correct. But somewhere along the way, Tom continued, you became satisfied with your achievements. You stopped exploring. You stopped learning from others. You began to believe that your way was the only way. A few observers shifted uncomfortably. This was a sensitive topic. I do not say this to criticize, Tom said quickly. Achievement breeds confidence. Confidence can lead to satisfaction. Satisfaction can lead to stagnation. This is not unique to Zephyrians. It happens to all successful civilizations. He paused and looked around the room. What I offer is not wisdom that you lack, Tom said. What I offer is perspective that you have lost. I offer the reminder that perfection is not a destination. It is a journey that never ends. Tom gestured, and a small holographic display appeared above his hand. Princess Kira had taught him how to use their technology. The display showed images from Earth, scientists working in laboratories, artists creating beautiful works, children playing and learning, people helping each other through difficult times. My people are not as advanced as yours, Tom said. But we have something precious, the knowledge that we are not finished growing. Every day, we try to become better than we were yesterday. We fail often. We make mistakes constantly. But we never stop trying. The images change to show human art, music, and literature. We celebrate our failures because they teach us. We honor our struggles because they make us stronger. We value our imperfections because they show us where we can improve. Tom looked directly at the cultural keeper. This is what I offer to your people. Not the answers to your questions, but the reminder that you should always be asking new questions. Not solutions to your problems, but the courage to admit that new problems will always arise. The display showed images of humans and Zephyrians working together, Tom and Princess Kira repairing the energy grid, human and Zephyrian scientists collaborating on research projects, children of both species playing together. I offer partnership, Tom said. I offer the chance for your people to remember what made them great in the first place, curiosity, courage, and the willingness to learn from others. He gestured again, and the display faded. I offer my love for Princess Kira and my respect for all of you, Tom concluded. I offer my promise to help your people continue growing, continue learning, and continue becoming everything they can be. The cultural keeper was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his ancient voice was filled with emotion. It has been many years since I heard someone speak of growth with such passion, he said. We have indeed become satisfied with our achievements. We have forgotten that learning never ends. He looked at Queen Vex. This human offers something more valuable than knowledge, he said. He offers wisdom. He offers the chance for our people to rediscover their greatest strength, the desire to become better. Queen Vex stood from her throne. The 5 judges whispered among themselves for several minutes. Finally, they reached their decision. Human, Queen Vex said formally, you have completed the trial of worth. The judgment of this court is unanimous. Tom felt his heart stop. Princess Kira gripped the arms of her chair so tightly that her knuckles showed white. You have proven yourself worthy, Queen Vex continued, not just to marry my daughter, but to become a member of our royal family. The hall erupted in cheers. Princess Kira leaped from her chair and ran to Tom. He caught her in his arms and spun her around, both of them laughing with joy and relief. Queen Vex walked down from her throne and stood before them. I was wrong about you, Tom of Earth, she said quietly. I saw only your differences. I failed to see your strengths. You have shown me that wisdom can come from unexpected places. She placed her hand on Tom's shoulder. You will marry my daughter with my blessing, she said. But more than that, I name you cultural ambassador between our worlds. Your job will be to help our peoples learn from each other. Tom bowed deeply. I am honored, Your Majesty. Queen Vex smiled, the first genuine smile Tom had ever seen from her. The honor is ours, she said. Welcome to the family. The celebration that followed lasted 3 days. Representatives from across the galaxy came to witness the first marriage between a human and a Zephyrian royal. It was declared a historic moment for interspecies cooperation. But for Tom and Princess Kira, the most important moment came on the quiet morning after the celebration. They stood together on the palace balcony, watching the twin suns rise over their new shared home. What are you thinking about? Princess Kira asked. Tom smiled and put his arm around her. I am thinking about the future, he said. About all the things we will learn together. About all the ways we will grow. Princess Kira leaned against him, feeling perfectly content. I love you, Tom of Earth, she said softly. I love you too, Princess Kira of Zephyr Prime, he replied. And in that moment, with the sun shining down on them and the whole universe spread out before them, anything seemed possible. Their love had bridged the gap between worlds. Now it would help build bridges between all the species of the galaxy. The future had never looked brighter.